And from my experience of my readings and my brief interactions with Father Clooney is from the perspective of any spiritual path, any faith, any religion, he is really an exemplary, saintly person. It's really an honor that you came today. Thank you, Dr. Bryant, for bringing us together. I was brought up, as was explained, in northern Illinois, and passed through my teenage years in the very confusing days of the 1960s. I'll just say a few things. I remember when I was 15, excuse me. You are excused. I guess you should excuse me. When I was 15, I worked at a car wash. And almost all of the fellow employees were African Americans from the ghettos of the south side of Chicago. And something really hit me. These people, they were so beaten down by poverty, by racial discrimination, practically by a sense of hopelessness that led them all to alcoholism. And they were making the same amount of money as me after school, and they were maintaining entire families. And at that time, in the 1960s, if you were born as an African American in the ghetto, then it was almost without any alternative that you would live and you would die in that ghetto. At the same time, there was this Vietnam War raging, and when you turn 18, you're either drafted to fight a war that you don't believe in, or you go to jail. These were real questions based on real experiences. My friends at that car wash, they loved me and I loved them. And I was taught to believe that America was a land of freedom and liberty for all. But it seemed it was very discriminatory. The counterculture raged a revolution against the values of the older generation and the apparent hypocrisies. I was a part of it. But as time went on, I came to understand that the real change that has to be there is spiritual. I heard from Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. Unless there was a revolution against the tyranny of ignorance, envy, hatred, and greed within ourselves, then we really can't be a part of a substantial change within the world. I knew it was spiritual, but at the same time, I recognized, being born in a Jewish family, people in the name of God and religion hated me simply because of my religion. It seemed that there was even at times a greater prominence of arrogance, envy, greed, and hatred in the name of spirituality. So where was I to turn? But in my readings and through my own intuition, I deeply believed at the essence of all these great spiritual paths, there was something very beautiful, very harmonizing that could bring about true fulfillment, love, and compassion. And I wanted to find that. At the age of 19, myself and one friend, we went on a journey to search for that spiritual essence. And eventually I left my friend, and as was said, I decided to go to India. I hitchhiked 6 months from London to the Himalayas. On the way, in my own little way, I encountered God through Judaism, through Christianity, through Islam, through Buddhism, through many branches of Hinduism. And I felt a very serious life-transforming experience in each of these faiths. But I was seeking the essence. Wandering through the Himalayas, in 1970, on my own, I kind of took my own little vow of celibacy and poverty as a sadhu or a spiritual seeker, and eventually came to Vrindavan, a holy place of bhakti. Bhakti is the path of devotion and service. And in that experience in Vrindavan, which was a beautiful forest on the bank of the Yamuna River, I felt that I have been given entrance into my own personal spiritual home. It was my path where I felt I could encounter God in the essence of all great religions through that. And it was in Vrindavan that I met Srila Prabhupada, who was later to become my guru. And in him I found a wisdom that seemed to include everything I had learned, and a compassion and humility that deeply moved my heart. By that time he had many followers in many parts of the world, and I remember somebody asked him, "Are you the guru of the world?" And I met so many gurus who really thought they were the gurus of the world. And Srila Prabhupada put his head down in great humility, and he said, "No, I am simply the servant of everyone. That's all." His love for God, his compassion for all beings, his wisdom, very much gave me an encounter of God, and I decided to dedicate myself to assisting him. That was in 1971.